Hello there, everybody, and welcome. My name is Tamir Moore, and welcome to the latest episode here on my YouTube channel. Also, I will invite you to follow me on social media as I often post there a lot. You can check out the links to my Twitter and Instagram profiles on this intro screen. And one last quick thing, you can check out my latest video by clicking the card in the upper right corner. And now it is time to start today's featured episode. Here is Tamir Moore with this week's episode of What You Need to Know. Hi again, everyone. I'm Tamir Moore, your host, and welcome into this week-free episode of What You Need to Know. Today, we are going to preview the week-free America's Game of the Week matchup between the Dallas Cowboys and the Chicago Bears, two longtime NFC rivals meeting again here today. As we know, we got plenty of notes, plenty of keys, plenty of references, all of the components of this matchup we will preview right here on this YouTube episode. So thank you so much for tuning in. Before we begin, I would like to invite you to please like and subscribe. It will really help our channel out. As I mentioned in the promo earlier in the week, you can check out the promo by clicking the card in the upper right corner. I did say that we're trying to build the best community on YouTube. We're trying to get to 100 subscribers on this YouTube channel. So anytime that you like and subscribe, that would greatly be appreciated and help us out. Okay. With that little preamble out the way, let's get into the notes for Cowboys versus Bears. All right, we're going to start with the reference note, and then we'll get into the game capsules in just a little bit. This is the 27th time that the Cowboys and Bears are meeting in a regular season game. The Cowboys lead the all-time regular season series 14-12. The last time these two teams met in the regular season was 3 seasons ago. It was Dallas defeated Chicago 49-29 on October 30th, 2022. Dallas has won 3 of the last 4 regular season games between these two teams. Cowboys quarterback Dak Prescott is 15 for 20, 75% on third down this season, with 11 of those completions going for a first down. Prescott leads the NFL in third down completions. The Chicago defense has forced the opposing offenses to 3 and outs on 9 occasions, tied for the most of any NFL team through the first 2 weeks of the season. Next week, the Cowboys will host the Packers on Sunday Night Football, and Micah Parsons returned to Dallas. The Bears will visit the Raiders next weekend at Allegiant Stadium in Las Vegas. And now it is time for the game capsule. We have 19 keys this week, so we have plenty of material to share with you. So let's get into it. So let's start with week 2. How did these two teams perform a week ago? Let's start with Dallas. You saw last week that Giants game. I was able to watch the tail end of it. It was a crazy back and forth affair. The Giants looked semi-decent last week, which is crazy because the Giants only scored 6 points in week 1. We had the Giants 2 weeks ago. Giants looked awful last week. The New York Giants looked like, hey, they can hang on any football team in the league. They put up 37 on the Cowboys, but Brandon Audrey had 2 clutch kicks late to tie the game and then eventually win the game in overtime for Dallas by a final score of 40-37. A great NFC East matchup for week 2. It was a lot better than I thought it was going to be. I thought Dallas was going to crush the Giants. That was not the case. The Giants hung in there, and then the Giants lost on a game-winning field goal in overtime at the end. As for Chicago, they got trounced to Detroit last week. Final score 52-21. The Bears defense, they had a horrible day against Detroit. Detroit was able to light them up. So the Chicago Bears are looking to bounce back. The Bears are 0-2. The Bears got to win this one because the last thing Chicago wants to do is start the season in a 0-3 hole. And you could be potentially 3 games back in the division depending on what the Packers do today in Cleveland. So this is the game the Bears have to have because if the Bears lose this game, your postseason chances already take a major hit, and we're not even out the month of September yet. Key number 1, let's start with the home team, the Chicago Bears. As I mentioned last week, defense was shredded up, gave up 52 points, did not get any takeaways whatsoever. It was a really rough day for the Bears defense last week. Anything you give up 50 points in the game, you're typically going to lose, and that's exactly what the Bears did last week. This is coming off of a week 1 performance in which Chicago's defense gave up 27 points against the Vikings. Remember, Chicago had a 4-quarter lead against the Vikings on Monday Night Football back in week 1. the Bears squandered it and they lost 27-24 and then 52 points last week. So if you do the math on that, that's almost 80 points allowed through 2 games. That's unacceptable. You're not going to win a lot of games if you give up those types of numbers. So it is important that the Chicago Bears defense is able to lock it down and hold down this really dangerous Dallas Cowboys offense when the Cowboys are on their best behavior. Key number 2, the Dallas Cowboys offense last week against the Giants, they scored 40 points in that overtime thrilling win in Arlington. They were 6 for 14 on third down. Key number 3, Cowboys quarterback Dak Prescott last week against the Giants. He threw for 361 yards, 2 touchdown passes. Yes, Prescott got picked. It was far from perfect, and he finished with a quarterback rating of 96.7. Another key, we're talking about the Bears defense once again. Jared Goff had a field day against the Chicago defense last week. He passed for 334 yards, 5 touchdowns, and a quarterback rating of 156. A perfect quarterback rating is 158.3. Jared Goff had a rating of 156. So for all intents and purposes, Jared Goff had a perfect day last week against this Chicago Bears defense. And now the Bears defense goes against another good quarterback in Dak Prescott. So for Chicago, defensively, it's not going to get any easier for them this week. The next 5 keys belong to the Dallas Cowboys. Key number 5, Cowboys wide receiver CeeDee Lamb last week against the Giants, 11 targets, 9 receptions, and 112 yards. CeeDee Lamb, who is obviously the number 1 receiver on the Dallas Cowboys, he's playing like a number 1 receiver. And during each of the first 2 weeks of the season, CeeDee Lamb has collected at least 100 yards in each game. And we expect CeeDee Lamb to approach 100 yards for the 3rd week in a row against the Chicago Bears. Key number 6, Cowboys wide receiver George Pickens last week against the Giants, 9 targets, 5 receptions, 68 yards, and a touchdown. George Pickens coming over in the offseason from Pittsburgh to back up CeeDee Lamb in the wide receiver room, and George Pickens played really well last week. And then we get to key number 7, Cowboys wide receiver Kevontae Turpin in the wide receiver number 3 role. Last week against the Giants, 4 targets, 4 receptions, 47 yards, and a touchdown. Key number 8, Cowboy tight end Jake Ferguson last week against the Giants, 12 targets, 9 receptions, 78 yards. Key number 9, we're looking at the Dallas offense last week against the Giants. Last week, the Dallas offensive line was okay, I will say, but they did give up 3 sacks to Dak Prescott. So the Cowboys offensive line, they got to do a much better job against the Chicago defensive line, able to get penetration, keep Dak upright, keep him clean throughout the whole game. If Prescott has plenty of time to toss the ball and time to stand in the pocket and be comfortable, I think Dak will have a really good day. A 300-yard performance is not out the question, but the offensive line got to do a much better job protecting him and not allow the defensive line to get to Dak Prescott and put him on the ground. Key number 10, let's talk about the Bears' rush defense last week against the Lions. 30 rushing attempts, 177 yards. The Bears' rush defense was pretty abhorrent last week. They gave up nearly 200 yards rushing to the Detroit Lions. The Lions, they love to run the football. And last week, the Bears did not do a good job stopping it. Detroit pretty much had a field day against them. 5.9 yards per carry and 2 touchdowns allowed via the ground game. Lions running back David Montgomery averaged 5.2 yards per carry last week, 57 yards and a touchdown. And Lions running back Jahmyr Gibbs, he averaged 7.8 yards per carry, 94 yards, and he scored a touchdown last week against Chicago as well. Key number 11, Cowboys running back Javonte Williams last week against the Giants, 18 rush attempts for 97 yards, 5.4 yards per carry, and a touchdown. 7 targets, 6 receptions, and 33 yards as a receiving back. So Javonte Williams, he had a really excellent day against the Giants last week. And the Dallas Cowboys, if you see Dallas, think about their wide receivers, think about their running back. If the Cowboys get good, solid production from the wide receiver room and the running back room, the Dallas Cowboys can do some really special things. Key number 13, Caleb Williams, the Bears quarterback last week against Detroit, 207 yards, 2 touchdowns. He did throw an interception, and he finished with a quarterback rating of 91.9. Key 14, Cowboys pass defense last week against the Giants. Well, let's just be honest. it was very substandard performance from the Cowboys D last week against the Giants. Russell Wilson, they gave up 450 yards to Russell freaking Wilson, right? Russell Wilson, he looked good last week. He was throwing deep ball down the field. Russell Wilson looked comfortable, and the Dallas defense, certainly, they gave Russell Wilson way too much time to operate, too much time to work. 450 yards, 3 touchdown passes that Russell Wilson was able to throw against the Cowboy defense last week. And yes, he did throw a pick. 37 points allowed. Obviously, for the Cowboys, you cannot give up 37 points in this game and expect to win. Malik Neighbors, 167 yards for the Giants wideout last week. He scored 2 touchdowns. Wan'Dale Robinson, he got 142 yards and a touchdown against this Dallas defense. Giants wide receiver Darius Slayton was able to compile 61 yards last week. Cowboys cornerback Trayvon Diggs got burned last week. He gave up a 158.3 rating, over 100 yards given up, and 2 touchdowns. So Trayvon Diggs needs to have a bounce-back performance here today. Key number 15, Bears wide receiver DJ Moore. Last week at Detroit, 6 target, 5 receptions for 46 yards. Key number 16, Bears wide receiver Rome Ledusday, the young wideout out of the University of Washington. In week 2 at Detroit, 11 targets, 7 receptions, 128 yards, and 2 touchdowns. Caught both of Caleb Williams' touchdowns last week. Key number 17, Bears offense week 2, 4 sacks taken. Caleb Williams has been under pressure a lot. So if you're the Chicago offensive line, we got to protect Caleb Williams, because last week he was under duress a lot. And if the Bears want to win this game, Caleb Williams cannot take no sacks today. Key number 18, the Dallas Cowboys were able to get 3 sacks last week against the Giants in 41 pass plays. And finally, key number 19, Bears running back DeAndre Swift, 12 attempts, 63 yards, 5.3 yards per carry, and a touchdown last week against the Detroit Lions. And an injury note on this key, Bears running back DeAndre Swift is questionable for this game with a quad injury. Swift was limited in practice Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday, so that's something we're going to have to watch. And if DeAndre Swift can't go, the other running backs in the Bears running back room are going to have to step up and try to fill the void left by the former Georgia running back. So that is this week's edition of What You Need to Know. Thank you so much for joining us. Next week, we will be back with you for episode 4 as the Philadelphia Eagles, the defending Super Bowl champions, take on the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Before we sign off, another reminder to please like and subscribe. That will help grow the channel and build the channel up. And that is all we have for you today. Thank you so much for being here. And of course, this episode is episode 3, so it's hard to believe that this is our 3rd episode, and we are only getting better and better each week. And I cannot wait for you guys to join us on the next episode to see what we have cooked up for you then. So, until next time, this is Tamir Moore saying so long from the booth in the NFL on Fox here in Chicago. Enjoy Cowboys versus Bears and all of the week 3 action, and we'll talk to you again next week. What's up, guys? It's Tamir Moore. I appreciate you for watching today's video, and I look forward to seeing you next time for another YouTube video. In the meanwhile, don't forget to like and subscribe, and also check out my social media profiles and my YouTube profile, which I provided in this outro screen. So long, everybody, and have a great day.